Ladies and gentlemen, we are live at Byron High School. It's the Byron Jazz Band's Cabaret Night, brought to you by the Byron Middle School and Byron High School Jazz Bands. And we're very glad to have you along. Just a couple of minutes here before the show begins. Gives me a chance to kind of set the stage. We know that there will be some people joining our stream live, but for the most part, most of our viewers will watch after the fact. And I'd like to set the stage and recognize the composers and give a little bit of context, if you will, on some of the songs. What we're looking at right now is under the direction of Mr. Matt Maurizio. This is going to be the BMS Jazz Band taking the stage. They'll kick things off tonight with a set, and we'll have a little brief intermission, at which point the BHS Jazz Band will take the stage under the direction of Natalie Haas. We'll be treated to a song by the BHS Garage Band, the interlude of the high school set. And I'll look forward to talking about what that looks like here a little bit later. And then the BHS Greater Jazz Band will finish up the night with some songs listed in our program here, and I believe at least one song that isn't listed in the program. So, getting things going, the BMS Jazz Band, as you can see, they've taken the stage now, and they may toot their horns a little bit and do some tuning and whatnot, but gives me just a few minutes here to mention the set list for BMS. They'll kick off the night with When Johnny Comes Struttin' Home. Now, I knew the song growing up, When Johnny Comes Marchin' Home, and surely this is a play on that. When Johnny Comes Marchin' Home, all the way back to 1863, during the Civil War, when soldiers indeed were hoping to march home again, right? This one a little bit more of a swinging tune, When Johnny Comes Struttin' Home. Kids may recognize this one from when they were little, including some of our players that either are watching this because they wanted to, or maybe Mr. Mauricio is making you watch your performance in band sometime next week. You might know that tune as Ants Go Marching One by One, Hurrah, or something to that effect. So when Johnny Comes Strutting Home, then there'll be a very little known song by a very niche group that you probably haven't heard of. I'm teasing. It's the Beatles, and it's Yesterday, a Lennon and McCartney tune, but really it's all Paul McCartney. In fact, not only did he write it, he said that it came to him in a dream, but it's only him that performs on the song, at least as far as John, Paul, Ringo, and George. The other Beatles sat that one out, and it was only Paul and a string quartet. Then there's a couple of charts here that I'm not familiar with, but I think if I was on the middle school band circuit, I may have heard of First Time Around by Mike Lewis, George Vincent's Jazz Hero. Those are some charts that, make the middle level jazz band circuit. But then we'll be treated to an old Chuck Mangione number from the early 1970s. He was a flugelhornist and band leader called Land of Make Believe. And then the BMS Jazz Band will finish out not as the BMS Jazz Band, but as Metallica, a song off of their album, self-titled. Not their first album, but their fifth album, all the way back to 1991, called Enter Sandman. And I'll tell you, it's no stranger to an arrangement with an orchestra. Back in the day, I'm looking out to see if we're getting ready to get going. Okay, we still got a little bit of time. Back in the day, Metallica did a live show with the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra, and this was one of the great charts off of that live album, S&M. So if you like the Byron Middle School version, go check it out yourself. Enter Sandman, and one of my favorite lyrics, which evokes the feeling of the song. Sleep with one eye open, gripping your pillow tight. So BMS Jazz Band, as you can see, oh, they turn the lights off. All right, I'm going to turn my mic down and the crowd mic up. Ladies and gentlemen, we're glad to have you along for Byron's Cabaret Night 2025. Under the direction of Mr. Matt Mauricio, this is Byron Middle School Jazz Band.
Hello? Oh, it's working. Good evening. Welcome to the Byron Jazz Band's Cabaret Night. This is a long-standing tradition here in Byron where we celebrate our jazz programs at the middle school and the high school. Up here on the stage, as you can see, is our middle school jazz band. These guys rehearse Thursday mornings at 7:15, bright and early. I used to have some auditions for the jazz band, and in the last few years have not had that, and you can kind of see that it's a one, come all, and they all showed up, which is awesome. So it's a little squeezed over there in our flute and clarinet section, but they're making it work. We have a fun program for you tonight. Some you might know, some that might be new for you. We are going to start with When Johnny Comes Strutting Home, which has solos by, let's see if we can do it from memory, Landon Hobby, Caleb Lang, and Maddie Martz, and Rylan Baker. next tune tonight is probably one you know. It is Yesterday by the Beatles. One little factoid I learned the first time we played this piece, and I wrote these program notes that I don't think anybody liked, but I did, was that the original working title for this song was called Scrambled Eggs. When Lennon and McCartney were writing music, McCartney would mostly write the notes, and Lennon would write the lyrics, but McCartney had this song, and it was like on the tour bus, and he figured out, like, this is a melody I really, really like, but I don't know what the words are yet, so I'm just going to put some things down on paper. And so instead of Yesterday, it was called Scrambled Eggs. I didn't say it, but that song had solos by Chloe Bennington on flute and Elena Bradford on clarinet. Our next tune is just a standard kind of early young jazz band chart. It's called First Time Around. It's an introduction to kind of swinging rhythms. If you know much about music, there are kind of straight rhythms, and then there are swung rhythms. You kind of read the music a little bit differently, and you play it a little differently. Which can be a little bit hard when we have kind of hammered into them the original way to kind of count your music. But this is a nice little introductory tune for them called First Time Around. Well, we're switching to our next song, which is just kind of a young jazz band rock tune. It's called Jazz Hero, kind of in the vein of Guitar Hero. Those songs kind of feel like that. I want to talk a little bit about, we have a soloist on this next song, Adrian Booker on the trombone. I want to talk about her and Matthew Chisholm, who auditioned for the district jazz band back in the fall, in October, and were selected into that group. And it's the whole northwest corner of Illinois. The whole state's divided into 9 districts, and we're District 8, kind of the northwest corner of Illinois. And a bunch of middle school kids from around the area, kind of all the way down to DeKalb, all the way over to Iowa, for you that way, auditioned for this group, and it's very select, like one on a part, like cut this group in half, and it's that size of a group that these kids are auditioning for. And Adrian sat second chair trombone, and Matthew was the piano player, so it was a really big deal. This is Jazz Hero. You may or may not have noticed that we are playing the drum set shuffle back there. There are 6 charts because there are 6 drummers in this jazz band, and I wanted each of them to have a chance to sit at the set. So our next song is called Land of Make Believe. Kind of was originated by Chuck Mangione. Kind of got the flugelhorn on the market. A pretty standard jazz standard. But it does feature London Wygant on the drum set for our next song, and then it starts with solos by Alex Friedland and Izzy Burks. Before we play our last tune, I want to talk about just this group is made up of 7th and 8th graders. So if you're a 7th grader, will you raise your hand? And if you're an 8th grader, will you raise your hand? So we are sadly going to say goodbye and pass along many of these 8th graders next year. I do have to just kind of call out one of the reasons I picked this last tune is because of our really, really awesome rhythm section that we have over here, which is comprised mostly of 8th graders. Brian and Bennett and Matthew are just killing it on these parts over here. I'm just joking, not crying. And they are just really, if you took them out of the equation, the band would sound really, really different. So it's been great to have them for a couple years. I know Mrs. Haas is super excited to have them in the high school band. But this is also, for all of you who are a similar age to me, this is our jam. Enter Sandman.
Under the direction of Matt Maurizio. That was the Byron Middle School Jazz Band. Wrapping up their set with a little Metallica.
All right, this is one of a couple intermissions we have tonight. A couple things. I know there is limited seating. It looks like people who want a seat have a seat, which is great. Middle schoolers don't have to stay. I did tell them that. But if you are a high school parent who doesn't have a great seat, now would be a great time to move. Get a good seat for senior day. Thanks.
All right, little intermission. I think they're going to do some drawings. As you can see, Gina Baker.
says lucky. All right, we got a green ticket. Are we ready? Are we ready? We got a green ticket. Number 586947. Do we have a winner? Do we have a winner? Is that you? It's you? Congratulations. 586947. Lucky winner. Thank you, guys.
All right. Gives us a chance to talk a little bit about this first set coming up here for, or I should say, from the Byron High School Jazz Band. Again, great job to Mr. Matt Marizio and Byron Middle School Jazz Band. Looking forward to having some of them come over to the high school next year. I'm sure, as Mr. Marizio said, Mrs. Haas is looking forward to having him as well. All right, so this opening set, of which there are 4 charts, begins with a Charlie Parker chart, nicknamed Bird, by the way. Now's the Time. Of course, Bird, major alto sax player from back in the 1940s. This chart was from November of 1945, just after World War II. As Gina's just letting those personally in attendance know that they can go back and get some snacks. I think it's really cool that on this original recording, again released back in 1945, there were 2 trumpet players part of the band along with Bird. One of them, Dizzy Gillespie. The other was a very little known, mostly session trumpet player that went on to become perhaps the most famous jazz cat of all time. But it was the little known and, quite frankly, maybe not so good yet, Miles Davis was in the band. And of course, Davis would go on to release Kind of Blue in 1959, one of the greats, if not recognized as the greatest jazz album of all time. Max Roach on drums. Very solo based in the original. Of course, Bird was a bebop alto sax player. I'm sure that Haas will get some of the soloists going in this one, but it's a very recognizable ensemble melody, and it's based more off of a blues riff than some of the other Bird charts from the time. And of course, Charlie Bird Parker died way too soon, back before my time, I should add, but in 1955, but only 34 years old, a victim of heavy living, so to speak. The next chart is a Chicago song, Make Me Smile. I love it. Sung by a guitar player, by the way, that Jimi Hendrix himself called the best guitarist in the universe, which is high praise coming from Jimmy. This was off what we retroactively call Chicago 2. Of course, this band's original vinyl album was Chicago Transit Authority, and then, of course, they changed their name so as not to be in competition with the actual CTA. Good to see Booker in that first band, a trombonist. The song was written by James Pankow, the trombonist, but sung very famously by guitarist Terry Kath, who also died way too young, tragically, in 1978. And of course, anybody that knows Chicago will know that a little bit later on, it was Peter Cetera that did a lot of the heavy lifting with the vocals. Then we'll be treated to Moon River. Now, originally that was more of a ballad. I don't know if our jazz band plays it as such, but an old Henry Mancini number with lyrics by Johnny Mercer, originally from the movie Breakfast at Tiffany's, starring Audrey Hepburn. And I wasn't a huge Mancini fan growing up, but that was only because I didn't know some of the charts that he had composed. And a favorite of mine from my youth was the Pink Panther. Not a very good rendition by me, I will add, but surely you've heard of that one. And This Moon River is a ballad that was composed by Mancini. I think everybody had a version of Moon River. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the one that was pretty famous was by Andy Williams. And then they'll finish up this first set with Caravan, which is a standard Duke Ellington composition, all the way back to 1936. Edward Kennedy Ellington from our nation's capital of Washington, D.C., but of course made the rounds extensively throughout the United States and abroad, and at times would have smaller groups kind of go into the studio and record a chart. And I didn't know this, but my research told me that another trombonist was credited along with Ellington for the composition, Juan Tizol. And there are lyrics to this. I don't think we'll be treated to lyrics until our surprise vocalist with the BHS Garage Band. So I'm teasing that a little bit. So there are lyrics to this one, which evokes a desert caravan, which I think will come through in the music. Just in case I don't have time, because I don't think there's going to be an intermission before the BHS Garage Band takes over, but they'll be playing a song off of Foo Fighters' second album, all the way back to August of 1997. Has it been that long? I got a lot more I could say about Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters. I don't know if I'll have time. It's been 30 years since Foo Fighters' first album, which was all Dave Grohl. And when this band came out, we knew the guy, Dave Grohl, but he wasn't the front man of this other Seattle-based grunge band that everybody was listening to on CD, by the way, back in the early and mid-90s, Nirvana. And when Kurt Cobain, again, tragically passed away in 1994, Dave Grohl had to keep the creative juices flowing and started his little side project, which he called Foo Fighters, and figured out he had something and got a bunch of other guys to join the band and released Color and the Shape in August of 1997, on which Everlong was one of the great charts and will be treated to Everlong here by the Garage Band. Silva on clarinet, baby.
Thank you so much for being here. That concludes our first set, but we invite you to stay in your seats because the garage band is going to play. We're going to take a little chop break, and then we'll be back for our second set.
All right, I don't want to interfere with the live show. I'm like at the Masters here doing golf, but you're going to see Tim Starwalt come out, and he's going to melt our faces. All right, I think we got Braden Hammis, Tim Starwalt, we got Emma Plyman, we got George Sober. We give you the BHS Garage Band.
we have a garage door in the back of our band room back here, which is kind of cool. But these people just decided one day we're gonna start playing, and they start bringing their guitar and they bring their bass, and then they recruited drummers, and they started to make long lists of songs they wanted to play. And they've been playing at basketball games and played at Cabaret last year. And then just recently they started saying, well, we need a singer, we need a singer, we need a singer. Well, they found a singer. So.
Man, that was cool. Foo Fighters. Actually, it was BHS Garage Band. Emma, Braden, Tim, George, shredding it. All right, man, this second set, second set is going to kick off with a standard, Route 66. From Chicago to LA, little St. Louis. I don't remember all the words, but man, what a great chart this is. Of course, Nat King Cole made it famous, written by Bobby Troup in 1946. Then a Barbara Streisand number, The Way We Were.
Okay, because it's easier for me to just talk once and then get that all over with and do all the talking right now. So hopefully you saw in the program, we're following the exact order of the program. The titles are right there. Soloists have asterisks. If you are a soloist tonight, can you just raise your hand? Some of you are like, yep, it's coming up, or I already did mine. Another round of applause for our soloists. I wanted to thank the Youth Booster band parents who helped set up the decorations and food. Of course, the food is good. Did everybody get enough to eat, or do you need to go out and get one more muffin or donut or something? It's not muffins and donuts. What is it? Cookies and brownies. I haven't been out there. Fruit snacks. I did see fruit snacks. Okay. Also wanted to thank Mr. Burris. He's our MC tonight. He's live streaming, so you can check it out later on the Byron YouTube channel. And again, before we begin this set, every year at the jazz band concert, we award a student with the Louis Armstrong Award. Instead of waiting until the end to do that, I'm just going to do that right now. It is given to an outstanding jazz student, somebody who has participated in jazz band, has contributed to the ensemble in multiple ways, played lots of solos, volunteered to, suggest songs and learning instruments, and just like 100% all in for the jazz band. And you, I think, well, you've seen some playing on 2 instruments already from this student, and maybe a solo. This year's winner of the Louis Armstrong Award is George Silver. 1, 2, ready, and. 1, 2, 3, and. Thank you so much for coming. I'd love to, I would say that we had an encore. We do not have an encore, but one more round of applause for all of our soloists. Wednesday night, it's probably already on your calendar, but the concert band and symphonic band concert will be Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. in the middle school theater, and we'll be honoring our seniors that night. So we'll see you then.
All right. Thanks for joining us tonight on Byron Tigers Live. Great job, Matt Marizio, the BMS Jazz Band. And then most recently, Natalie Haas and the BHS Jazz Band. Really proud of all of our musicians. Great job. Hope you enjoy watching this later on. Good night, everybody.